Hey, happy, beautiful, amazing day. Dr. Bob Rakowski here. March 29 of 2020. Some interesting philosophies. Is it us against them or us with them? And I want you to take a really broad view of that and find out, what do you think would be best for the planet? Because one of my great mentors said decades ago, he said, Bob, when it comes to toxins and or viruses and or microbes, it's not us against them, it's us with them. And that probably serves us to have it that way. Let's get an update on the world. Yesterday was actually a very good day, even though this graph is ominous, coming up on 700,000 infections, over 31,000 deaths. Certainly significant. And as we look at the global picture, we're not going to, anybody, I don't believe, is going to consider this calm, but look at what a good day yesterday was. So I reference this curve from China, and that is the World Health Organization's lead researcher with the China data. So when we compare China to the world, it's clear that China is just a fraction of the world, but it's actually the same curve, believe it or not, here for China as it is for the entire world, just expanded a bit, same shape. So we look, yesterday had worldwide 20,100 new infections. That's pretty cool. And look at that, most of them came from the USA and Italy. So I don't know if that means just USA and Italy is having a testing capacity. It's definitely, it seems to be a blip on the data. It probably should have been somewhere up here. And according to this, we've got some time to go yet before this peaks globally. Time will certainly tell. So we start looking at the United States, 14,300. Now, do I believe the US has peaked and on the way down? Did it peak here? That doesn't fit the curve as well. Probably a week yet to peak, but also understand major cities will peak at their own rate. So, we started with Washington and New York and Los Angeles and Chicago. Hopefully people are doing their part to make sure that these infections don't continue to spread. Still trying to figure out the graph for Italy. They certainly have a huge impact there with a lot of deaths, but I shared yesterday, the Journal of the American Medical Association says they're not sure that's accurate as a rate. Why? Because there are a lot more people that have it that haven't been identified with it. 99+% of the people that died had other serious things going on in their body. And would they have died from the other thing, pretty doggone soon? And the suggestion is a lot of them would have been, especially those over 90 years old. But let's have a little education here. There's something called the virome. So you may have heard of your genome and even your epigenome and your microbiome. There's also a kinome, and there's a lipome and an inflammasome, and you name it. We've got a lot of things going on in our body. But let's talk about the microbiome and the virome. Here's what it says. Every surface of our body, inside and out, is covered in microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and many other microscopic life forms. So we are carriers of microbes. This was Science News magazine, and basically they have an article about how vast viruses are and these other particles. But it's actually suggested, let me just show this picture right here from this issue of Science News. And it said most identified DNA sequences in blood plasma belong to viruses. More than 2/3 of genetic sequences in our bodies. Highly significant. There are 10 quintillion virus particles that populate the planet. Why do they call them particles instead of viruses? There's still a debate about whether or not viruses are living organisms because they're genetic material wrapped in a protein coat that can't even reproduce on their own. How much is a quintillion? Well, you probably have heard of a million, and then a billion, and then a trillion, and then a quadrillion. Well, now we've got a quintillion. And how much is a quintillion? Bigger than you could imagine, right? 1,000 times more than the number of basically dollars on planet Earth. I said that wrong. It's not more than 1,000. It's 1,000,000 times more, because it's estimated to be trillions of dollars. 1,000,000 times more than the dollars on the planet are the number of viruses. So Bill Gates is being touted as an expert, and he's a humanitarian and a great human. And I'm going to quote him, and I'm going to say, I like Bill, and I like what he's trying to do for the planet. I just don't agree with his approach. So brilliant Bill Gates quote, "It's fine to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure." And did Microsoft have a failure in terms of their antivirus strategy? Well, I think they did. They actually estimate that it cost $55 billion a year in the US alone for viruses having an impact on the products that Microsoft was famous for creating. Now, if you have an Apple computer, I just want you to ask yourself this question: do you have the same virus issue? And what did Apple do different? Well, maybe they made a box that was more resistant to viruses. Here's what Bill said that I like. He says, as we look into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. So we want to empower people to be strong, to be fit, to be healthy, to know that this too shall pass, that every pandemic in history has passed. And guess what? Most of them did it without extreme medical intervention. Bodies adapt, viruses adapt. It is not in the best interest of the virus to kill the host. How could it be in your best interest to kill your food source completely and wipe it out? We know that doesn't work. So what's my message? The only way to have health is to earn health. You've got to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right every single day. And remember, we are mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, impactful beings. Could it be that this is our time to get into some deep introspection? We have all the knowledge of the universe available to us. Figure out what drives you, makes your life more fun, and makes the world better. Remember, it's not us against them, it's us with them. So how can we be a good host? Well, we don't allow the virus to kill ourselves. Why? Because that's bad for absolutely everybody. So if we're with them, how can we be stronger to create a win-win circumstance? I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, absolutely knowing that we can all be happy, healthy, and successful.